It started as a joke, the kind of cruel joke life plays when you think you have control. And maybe that's why it hit me so hard, because I never imagined that saying yes to a fake date would wreck every wall I had built around my heart. I never believed in romance. Not the movie kind. Not the starry-eyed fairy tale kind. Not even the kind you overhear in late-night diners when someone swears love saved their life. For me, love was transactional, messy, and best kept at a distance. Which made it ironic, no, pathetic, that I ended up agreeing to a date that was nothing more than a contract. A deal. An escape plan dressed up as dinner. Her name was Riley Hayes. And if I'm honest, she terrified me. Riley wasn't just beautiful, she was the kind of beautiful that walked into a room and bent reality around her. Blonde waves that looked effortlessly undone. Blue eyes that seemed to smirk before her lips did. A confidence that was almost reckless. I told myself I couldn't stand her. That she was trouble. That I didn't need someone like her in my life. But then she smiled at me across that tiny Italian restaurant table, candles flickering shadows on her cheekbones, and I knew I was screwed. The deal was simple. She needed someone to take to her sister's wedding so her family would finally get off her back about being single. I needed someone to parade in front of my ex to prove I was fine, better than fine, thriving. We shook hands on it. One date, one wedding, one performance. Clean, neat, finished. Except nothing about Riley was neat. I still remember the first time her hand brushed mine, casual, like she didn't even notice. But I noticed. Every nerve in my body lit up like Times Square. I pulled away so quickly she raised an eyebrow at me, that trademark smirk curling at the edge of her lips. "Relax, it's just acting," she said. But it didn't feel like acting. Not even close. There was this moment, God, it was so stupid. We were walking down Fifth Avenue, pretending to be some picture-perfect couple. Her arm looped through mine. She leaned in close, whispering some sarcastic comment about a guy in an ugly Christmas sweater, and I laughed so hard I nearly tripped. She caught me, her hand pressing firmly against my waist, and I froze, because for a second, too long of a second, I didn't want her to let go. That's when I realized I was in trouble. The irony of falling for Riley Hayes wasn't lost on me. She was everything I said I didn't want. Loud where I was quiet. Reckless where I was cautious. Sunshine wrapped in a storm. But maybe that was the problem. I had spent so long building a safe, small life that I forgot what it felt like to want something dangerous. To crave something real. I told myself I could fight it. That I could keep things in check. That when the wedding was over, we'd go back to being strangers who once struck a deal. But late at night, when my phone buzzed and her name lit up the screen, I found myself smiling like an idiot. And when she looked at me across crowded rooms, it felt like she saw straight through me, every lie, every shield, every scar. The more I tried to pull away, the more she pulled me back. And then came the wedding. Standing beside her in that champagne-colored dress, her fingers lightly entwined with mine, the charade felt too real. Every toast, every dance, every stolen glance, they weren't rehearsed. They weren't fake. Not for me. Maybe not for her either. But fear is a funny thing. It whispers louder than truth. When the night ended, I told her it was over. That the deal was done. That I couldn't afford to blur the line between pretend and reality. She stared at me, eyes flashing with something raw. Something I couldn't name. "You think this was pretend?" she asked, voice low, dangerous in its honesty. I didn't answer. Because I was too much of a coward to admit the truth. And the truth was simple. Terrifying. Uncontrollable. I had fallen for Riley Hayes. I told myself I could walk away. That shutting the door would hurt less than opening my chest and handing her the mess of my heart. But walking away from Riley Hayes felt like walking away from oxygen, like asking my body to survive without breath. For weeks after the wedding, New York turned into a cruel battlefield of reminders. I saw her everywhere, in the subway, in the tilt of someone's laugh, in the glow of a cafe window. I kept telling myself it was just echoes, just tricks of the mind. But then I'd catch my reflection in the glass and realize I wasn't fooling anyone. I was hollow because the one person who made me feel alive was gone. One rainy Thursday night, I was hunched over a lukewarm cup of coffee at a diner on 42nd Street, trying to convince myself I didn't miss her. That's when Riley walked in. No grand entrance, no cinematic pause, just a girl in a leather jacket dripping with rain. Eyes burning like she'd been fighting the same war I had. Our eyes locked. I wish I could say I stood up, ran to her, confessed everything in one sweeping gesture. But I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth, heart banging against my ribs like it was trying to break free. She slid into the booth across from me, rainwater trailing down her collar. "You look like hell," she said. "So do you," I whispered. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hum of the diner filled the silence, plates clattering, waitresses laughing somewhere in the back. Then Riley leaned forward, her voice low, shaking in ways I'd never heard before. "Why did you push me away?" Because I was scared. Because I thought I didn't deserve her. Because loving her meant losing control. And I've spent my whole life gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. But I couldn't say any of that. Not yet. Instead I asked, "Why did you come here?" Her blue eyes locked onto mine. Because pretending it was just an agreement was killing me. Because every time I touched you I wasn't acting. And if you want me to walk away I will. But I need to know if you felt it too. The dam inside me cracked. "I felt everything," I said. My voice broke, but I didn't care. I was terrified of it. I still am. "But Riley, you make me want things I never thought I'd want. You make me believe in things I never thought were real. And that terrifies me more than anything." Her hand slid across the table, stopping inches from mine. I stared at it, at the way her fingers trembled. And then for the first time I didn't pull away. I let my hand fall into hers, and the world seemed to exhale around us. She smiled then, but it wasn't her usual smirk. It was softer, almost fragile. "Good. Because I don't want to stop being terrified with you." We didn't kiss in that diner. Not yet. We just sat there, holding on to each other like the world might split apart if we let go. The next weeks blurred into something I can only describe as terrifyingly beautiful. Late-night walks through Central Park, her fingers brushing mine until I gave in and tangled them together. Cooking pasta in my tiny apartment, burning the garlic bread because we couldn't stop laughing. Fights too messy, sharp because we were both stubborn women who didn't know how to be vulnerable without bleeding a little. But always there was this pull. This gravity that no argument could break. One night, standing on the Brooklyn Bridge with the city lights burning like galaxies behind her, Riley finally kissed me. It wasn't fireworks or explosions. It was softer, deeper, like finding a piece of yourself you never knew was missing. I think in that moment I understood what people meant when they said love wasn't about control. It was about surrender. The girl who once swore off romance found herself falling, not into a fairy tale, but into something real. Messy, terrifying, breathtakingly real. Months later, when Riley introduced me to her family again, this time not as a date by agreement but as her girlfriend, I caught her watching me across the room. And for once there was no fear. No pretense. Just love, raw and undeniable. After the party, as we walked back to her car, I whispered, "I still don't know where this ends." She squeezed my hand, her thumb brushing the back of it like a promise. "It doesn't have to end. Not if we don't want it to." And maybe that's the thing about love. It isn't about contracts or control. It's about leaping when every bone in your body begs you to stay safe. It's about choosing the terrifying, impossible thing because somewhere in that impossibility, you finally find yourself. I never expected to love Riley Hayes. But sometimes the best stories are the ones we don't plan. The ones that start as a deal and end as something worth surrendering to. And as her arm wrapped around me that night, city lights glowing like 1,000 whispered promises, I realized something I never thought I'd say. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. I was home. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.